This story is about how saving a dog that was out of chances started a 16-year journey, and counting, that helped me, helped H.O.P.E, and helped countless numbers of people and animals in our community. To quote the Dalai Lama, just as ripples spread out when a single pebble is dropped into water, the actions of individuals can have far-reaching effects. My story with H.O.P.E starts with my sister's terminal illness. When someone's diagnosed with a terminal illness, there's a lot to do. I'm a problem solver, and I don't back down easily from a challenge. So when Karen was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, I got busy, dealing with paperwork and doctors, trying to give her the best quality of life, and spending a lot of time with her. I also became the de facto communicator and mediator. It was pretty all-consuming. At times it was incredibly stressful, but I felt useful, helpful, needed. Then there comes a point where there's nothing left to do but coast to the end. 16 years ago, we were there. There were no more tasks for me to busy myself with, and I was increasingly frustrated by the feeling that I wasn't able to alleviate my family's pain and sorrow. I couldn't know what it was like for my sister, or for my mother who was losing her daughter, her first child, or for my niece who was an only child of divorce, losing her mother. Even for my siblings, they would experience this in their own unique ways. I felt unable to help them, and I needed to do something. During this time, my husband and I adopted 2 young pups from the shelter. Not named yet, they were labeled A and B. While contemplating names, B got sick. Naming got put on hold. The vet couldn't save B, but somehow A made it through the additional watch period, and the name had stuck. She was A-Dog. A was a sweet but very fearful shepherd mix. Over the next year and a half, raising A-Dog and working on her fears drew down my frustration. But as she settled in and my sister deteriorated, I was again reaching my tipping point. For months, I'd been seeing a tiny ad in the Money Saver, seeking volunteers for an animal rescue. Certainly, I could help this group save animals. My intention with H.O.P.E was to offer administrative assistance, help with adoption events and fundraisers, pretty much anything except bring animals home. As slow as A-Dog had been to truly get comfortable in her new life, my husband was concerned that bringing another dog in would upset her world, and he couldn't bear the thought. But you can probably guess where this is going. I went to my first H.O.P.E meeting on a Thursday. The group's founder and current executive director, Wendy, who's here tonight, reported on a dog they had their name on at the shelter. They'd gotten the call. That means she was going to be put down. But they'd had to decline. Come to find out, the dog was fearful with possible aggression. They had no available foster who had the experience to safely take her. Remember my scaredy A-Dog? My wheels were turning. I asked how long she'd need a skilled home before she could be transferred to another foster. I now know that was an impossible question, but they said they'd check with the behaviorist and let me know. I called the shelter the next day to make sure she was still alive, and she was. So I arranged to meet her on Saturday. Chloe was a beautiful black chow chow who had been picked up stray and pregnant at 1 year old. In the 6 months she'd been at the shelter, she had her pups and weaned them, but as so often happens, the pups were quickly adopted and Mom was left behind. Her reaction to people approaching her kennel, namely looking wild-eyed and barking up a storm, had oddly enough failed to endear her to any prospective adopters. Go figure. She was definitely fearful, vacant, shut down, but I let her go at her own pace, and the visit went fine. She didn't deserve to die for being afraid. I was waiting to hear what the behaviorists had to say and hoping that they'd miraculously come up with another foster. Sunday passed without a word. I had taken Monday off just to catch up on some things at home, and at 3 o'clock I got a call from Wendy telling me she had gotten the last call. If someone didn't pick Chloe up by close of business, she would be put down that night. I told Wendy I figured I could convince my husband to let her come temporarily, prepare the house a bit, and get over to the shelter by 5. Pause. Wendy says the shelter closes at 4. Eee. The call to my husband started badly. He was not happy. He actually said, let them kill her. Of course I couldn't, and I think he understood that I really needed to do this. His compromise was that I could bring her, but he wouldn't be involved or responsible for any of her care. I quickly agreed before he could change his mind. Now I had to scramble to arrange for her to be walked while I was at work during the week. I got a plan in place, mad dash to the shelter, 15 minutes to spare. So I coaxed this fear-aggressive dog into the back of my car, drive her straight to Pampered Pooch and Pals for a do-it-yourself bath, because what fear-aggressive dog who's just been taken from the relative safety of the only home they've known for 6 months by a stranger wants said stranger to give them a bath, right? It had to be done. She was filthy. I'll spare you the specifics, but ew. Anyway, somehow we get through the bath and blow dry. I had now seen scary Chloe. Fortunately, my usual reaction of going calm in the face of fearfulness worked for her. I put her in the car again. We drive to another new place. And as we get out of the car to go into the house, thunder and lightning. What more could this poor dog have to deal with? Oddly, she didn't seem to react too much to the storm. Later, I realized she'd been confronted with so much that afternoon, she just didn't have room to be afraid of one more thing. My husband heard the back door open and called out, "Are you here with Sea Dog?" It had not even occurred to me that Chloe was Sea Dog. I still had to take her to be spayed, so after a day with us, I took her to the vet. When I returned, I was told she was unadoptable. That wasn't how I saw it, so challenge accepted. 2 weeks later, not having found a home among people we knew, she was recovered enough to go to an adoption event. I came home from work that Friday, and my husband says, "I don't think you should take her to the adoption event." I ask, why? Adoption events are stressful for the dogs. They're a necessary evil. They have to get out there and meet people so that they can fall in love with them. He kept beating around the bush, but I knew I had to make him say the words. So I just kept countering with, "So what are you saying?" Until he said it. "I guess we should keep her." I later found out that she had hooked him only a few days in. While they were on the back steps, she employed the near foolproof tactic, the lean. Even if you're not an animal person, you know the lean. People do it too. We became the best kind of failures, foster failures. She wasn't always easy and would not have worked for many families, but she was our Chloe. In time, her eyes regained their expressiveness, and in her later years, she became something of an ambassador on Broadway. Since she wasn't big on touch, she helped teach lots of people about rescue and how to more safely approach a dog via treats. If they didn't give her a treat, she would look to me to provide one to them. She made the day of lots of people on the street and in the shops as she did her rounds over the next 14 years. A few years after joining H.O.P.E, my sister passed away. And 2 years ago, Chloe passed in one of her favorite spots, under my husband's desk with her head on his foot. H.O.P.E certainly kept me busy and distracted when I needed to be, and it definitely gave me what I had come for and more. I learned a lot with H.O.P.E and even left my real job as claim representative for the New York State Thruway Authority to work in animal welfare. While I started as a foster, I eventually spread into just about everything else. I made connections and friends, became a H.O.P.E board member, managed the Facebook page, took thousands of photos, and in a bizarre turn of events, I created and ran our first ever pub crawl fundraiser, even though I'd never been on a pub crawl and I don't drink beer. See, H.O.P.E has a place for just about everyone with the desire to play a part. In this story, I'm the pebble, but you can be a pebble too. Please consider joining us or one of the other organizations that you'll be introduced to tonight and make your own ripples. You'll be glad you did. Thank you.
You were out with final chances. I was in the throes of grief, escaping hopeless circumstances. My despair was your reprieve. Face devoid of all expression, teeth bared, you let no one near. Met your monsters with aggression, rising from a deep-set fear. But who could know, who could see, saving you would rescue me, rescue me. And given love, given time, you found your hope, and I found mine. Such a trove of contradictions, soft fur begging to be touched. You shied away from affection, seeking treats, you turned down hugs. Timely dips we gave the other, you were lifted from your plight. Sweet reward for our patience, to see your eyes reclaim their light. But who could know, who could see, saving you would rescue me, rescue me. And given love, given time, you found your hope, and I found mine. We learned to bend again. No hesitation, but those eyes spoke what words could not. Reaching out past no tomorrow as the coils of pain untwine. Beyond the fear, beyond the sorrow, you found your hope, and I found mine. And who could know, who could see, saving you would rescue me, rescue me. And giving love, giving time, you found your hope, and I found mine. You found your